Hi there, my name is Dimitris Charalambidis, I'm a math teacher, and in this video I'll show you how to solve a quadratic equation. Before we move into the methodology, let's give a quick definition. By quadratic equation, we mean an equation written in form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And here, one should notice that the main characteristic of a quadratic equation is that the highest power of the variable must be equal to 2. Let's see now what we mean by solutions of such an equation. Like in any equation, here as well, a solution is that number which, if substituted in place of x, will produce a true statement. For example, in the equation x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0, if we are asked to determine if number 1 is a solution, then all we have to do is simply substitute 1 in place of x and see if we can come up with something true. Let's do that. 1 squared minus 5 times 1 plus 6 equals 0, which means that 1 minus 5 plus 6 equals 0, which means that 2 equals 0. And of course, we can all understand that that's not a true statement, and therefore, number 1 cannot be a solution to this equation. Is number 2 a solution? We'll follow the exact same process. We'll substitute number 2 in place of x, and we'll check the results. 2 squared minus 5 times 2 plus 6 equals 0, which means that 4 minus 10 plus 6 equals 0, which leads to 0 equals 0, which is of course a true statement, and therefore number 2 will be a solution. But the real question remains, how can we find the solutions of such an equation? We will see the whole process through two examples. Let's assume that I need to solve the equation x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. In the first step, which is, in my opinion, the one that we should always pay attention at, since the general form of such an equation was given in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, we must start by calculating the values of a, b, and c. Notice here that a will always be the coefficient, in other words, in more simple words, the number in front, x squared. B will be the coefficient of x, and c will be the constant term. In our case, where we started with the equation x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0, a, the coefficient of x squared, is 1, b, the coefficient of x, is 5, and finally c equals 6. Now, that step was the most critical one because the next two steps will be determined by these values found. In step 2, we continue by finding the value of the discriminant d, which is given by the formula d equals b to the power of 2 minus 4 times a times c. In our case, where a equals 1, b equals 5, and c equals 6, by substituting, we get that d equals 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 6, which is equal to 25 minus 24, which equals 1. Now, look at an extra note here. Have in mind that the value of the discriminant, the value of d, can give us information about the number of solutions the equation will have. More precisely, if the discriminant is positive, if it is bigger than 0, then we should expect two different solutions. If the discriminant is equal to 0, we should expect one double solution. And thirdly, if the discriminant is smaller than 0, if it is negative, then we should expect 0 solutions. In our example, d equals 1. So we are expecting to find two different solutions. Now let's move in the third step. We will estimate these solutions by applying the formula x1, 2 equals negative b plus minus square root of d and all that over 2a. Some students find hard to understand the importance of plus minus. All you will be doing at some point in the end, you will simply split the original fraction into two different ones. With that said, this means that I will create one fraction for the positive sign and one fraction for the negative sign. So the solutions will be found by negative b plus square root of d over 2a or negative b minus square root of d over 2a. Here, let's remember that in our case, in our exercise, a was found equal to 1, b was equal to 5, c was equal to 6, and from the second step, d is equal to 1. Therefore, x1, 2 will be equal to negative 5 plus minus square root of 1 over 2 times 1, which is equal to negative 5 plus minus 1 over 2, and now we'll split it into two different fractions. Negative 5 plus 1 over 2, which equals negative 4 over 2, which is equal to negative 2, or negative 5 minus 1 over 2, which equals negative 6 over 2, which is equal to negative 3. Finally, the solutions of this equation are the numbers negative 2 and negative 3. Let's see a second example, quicker this time. Solve x squared minus 2 times x minus 8 equals 0. In step 1, we begin by calculating the values of a, b, and c. A is the coefficient of x squared, therefore a is 1. B is the coefficient of x, and therefore b is negative 2. And c is the constant term, which means that c is equal to negative 8. In the second step, we calculate the value of the discriminant by the formula b squared minus 4 times a times c. In my case, it would be negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 8. Be careful with the signs. Negative 2 squared is equal to negative 2 times negative 2, and therefore is equal to 4. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 8 should be positive, so we should write 432 plus 32, which leads to the value of 36. And finally, x1, 2 is equal to negative b plus minus square root of d over 2a, which equals to negative 2 plus minus square root of 36 over 2 times 1, which is equal to 2 plus minus 6 over 2, and now we split it. 2 plus 6 over 2 equals 8 over 2 equals 4, or 2 minus 6 over 2 equals negative 4 over 2 equals negative 2. Hence, the solutions are numbers 4 and negative 2. And that is all. Remember that we derived the whole process into 3 steps. In first step, we calculate the values of a, b, and c. In the second step, we calculate the discriminant. And lastly, in the third step, we estimate the solutions by that formula. For any questions you might have, feel free to leave a comment below this video or contact me on my personal email. As always, thank you for your time.